Assalamu alaikum fam, hope you're doing well. So I was thinking about how the hijab, the traditional clothing as best you can, whether it's the niqab, the burqa, the himar, jilbab, there's lots of different Islamic clothing. But I was reflecting upon how the Islamic garments that are loose, not necessarily pants, but at least those Aladdin pants that are really, really loose, at least, but not necessarily those. The traditional clothing really helps to break the American programming of hypersexualization and hedonism that breeds a really vain ego centered around beauty. And that if you really want to submit to Islam and feel the beauty of modesty and help to actually push yourself to a higher standard, I would say that the traditional clothing facilitates that because it's a great equalizer. And when you wear that clothing that's loose and it's not tight-fitting and sensuous, you cut out a lot of envy from other women, and you cut out a lot of the lesbian gaze, the bisexual gaze, and the male gaze. And because of that, you have a little bit of a higher self-esteem because you're not constantly body checking yourself and flaunting and prancing about trying to flex on other women with your beauty. Peacocking. Men do peacocking, but so do women. Women flip their hair, they stick their butt out, they, suck in their stomach. They do things that are meant to kind of show the other woman who's standing next to them, I'm beautiful, look at me, we know how we are. But the cool thing is that Allah has given us the ability to cut that off. And the traditional clothing, from what I have experienced, facilitates that. And it's amazing because you no longer have to worry about making your hair super fancy, save it for your man. You just know inside you have beautiful hair, and you need not flex it upon people. And even when it comes to your beautiful neck, when it comes to your bare back, your shoulders, all those things get covered. No more showing your belly button and your belly button ring. No more showing the dimples that are on your lower back. Nothing. It's covered. And that's such a beautiful thing because it allows you to focus your brain on something other than how you look. And you finally break free from the pornographic conditioning prison that America puts on its people. And I feel like it also helps women look into the eyes of other women and get to know their character instead of judging them like how they do their makeup or how did they do this, how are their teeth, how are their ears. Women will see each other's earrings and they'll judge. They will judge the way you hold your head, the way you parted your hair. Women are constantly critiquing each other, competing with each other, and judging and measuring each other. When you put on the traditional Islamic clothing, you've told yourself and you're telling others, I've let go of the fashion industry. I'm going to focus on something better than my fading beauty and my ego, and I'm going to not be ruled by lust, and I'm not going to be bait for everyone, and the only one who needs to see it will see it, and everyone else can piss off. And that is very powerful because you're no longer allowing marketing companies to feed on your insecurities. It's quite brilliant. And I'm saying this as someone who used to work out in the gym with a sports bra, short shorts, someone who was fine with belly shirts, It's quite interesting how Islam changes you, and I was already going towards a modest route before Islam, but definitely after reverting, you see how wonderful it is to just let that lifestyle go. And as a woman, when you exit your 20s, it's really nice to just let go of competing with the 20-year-olds and accepting that at 30, you're on the way down. Now, there are women who put on a lot of makeup, who get a lot of plastic surgery, a lot of Botox, nose jobs, and high filters to make themselves look younger, and they also Photoshop their images to make other women think you will be somehow as attractive and no man will notice you're aging, and that you'll never be a wilted flower, but gravity and time is the great equalizer. So it's nice to resign as a competitor in that area, and I believe the traditional Islamic clothing proves that you've excelled in your spiritual development, because it shows that you're no longer holding on to the secular ideology of hedonism, and you have decided to do something better, more moral, more decent, more classy, more virtuous, and also harder. It's harder to be clothed in a country that monetizes nudity and pornography, and that consistently brainwashes you on an everyday basis to reveal everything, to the point where people can have parades in the street nearly nude, and they have no decency and they have no respect for others' vision. They think they get to force their body upon you and then complain when everyone looks at them too often. They'll complain when an ugly man looks at them, but love it when a handsome man looks at it. But in the end, it's still the male gaze, and you're still presenting yourself as something to be gawked at, something to be observed. So the traditional Islamic clothing cuts that off. And when you're ready to resign and accept that you have a partner, or that you've given Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala his rights by obeying his Sharia, you've done something more commendable. And that's why I'm very proud of the Niqabi sisters, who, some of them even wear gloves. You're just like, wow, they're really good role models. They don't use their beauty to allure simps for clout and attention. It's very interesting. They're really good role models because they show you a higher level, yet they don't get the recognition as much. And so what I hope to explain to American reverts is that you have to break that conditioning that we've been given our entire lives. And if you're an American revert, you being modest can inspire a lot of people. I've gotten a lot of really interesting comments from older women, and they're just like, oh, you look so beautiful, they look so graceful. And the children, they look at you different. You know, they're so used to seeing just women just half naked like animals. Just no modesty, no classiness. And used to seeing women walk the street, stripper culture, you know. They're just used to seeing so much nudity, they almost forget what it's like to wear clothes. And so if you're an American revert who decides to obey the Sharia and at least cover your hair, you've done a commendable, inspirational act. But if you wear hoodies and you show your hair, you wear a lot of makeup, you wear jewelry, you show your ankle, you show tight pants, you show your sensuality, you're still in the programming of sex addiction. You're still in the programming of hedonism. You're still using this sort of satanic allure to get validation from bisexual people, lesbians, and men. Because you can't feel any value outside of beauty. And if you openly know that the truth is, regardless of any milksheikhs and milksheikhas who tell you the hijab isn't mandatory, the truth is, if you know that it is, that your hair at least, right? And if you still won't do that, well, you're willfully disobeying, and you're really kind of making a mockery of it, and you're being a reformist. And you're kind of, I think you're doing an innovation, because you're saying that it's not obligatory, and you can do whatever you want, and who cares? And you're showing that to thousands of people who, will think, well, is that permissible? Right? So the more rules you break, the more you encourage rules to be broken. So I really have a lot of respect for American Muslims who cover their hair, wear loose clothing, they don't do duck lips, and they don't use their beauty, once they revert, to get attention, right? And so if you really want to submit, and you really want to get spiritual, and you really want that reward from Allah, you have to start with letting go of the American vanity. You don't need to feel insecure and inferior because you no longer get to show your beautiful hair. And this is coming from a person whose hair is quite beautiful, alhamdulillah. Okay? Very beautiful, thick, curly, long, shiny, and healthy. If I can do it, so can you. So can you. And you'll feel better. You may feel awkward, but also at the same time, if you stop hanging around with girls who show their breasts and who are in booty shorts, high heels, and who look like strippers, well, guess what? You won't feel so insecure. If you have less friends and more pious people around you, and you learn how to be alone, you'll actually become stronger because you won't have bad influences pushing you to sin, pushing you to disobey. You have to recognize the fact that Shaitan has a very long resume of leading people astray. Okay? And it's not just the mothers of the believers who had to be modest, it's us as well. And we are to imitate much of their behavior. And modesty is a great virtue. And pants are comfortable if they're loose, but if you're starting to wear tight jeans and you're not forced to for work, right? You should understand that you're wearing a male garment and that you're showing the shape of your butt, you're showing your camel toe, you are letting them see what's up. And I had to learn this as well. So that's why it's highly encouraged, and it is obligatory, to wear the proper, ordained, Sharia-approved Islamic clothing. And if you want to get into the face, have at it. But the hair and the ears being covered, and your neck, your shoulders, your chest, this is obligatory. And so I feel if you're struggling this Ramadan with obeying the rules, and you have people who look up to you, especially young girls who are being brainwashed by OnlyFans, TikTok, celebrities, porn stars, you name it, you have an obligation to push them to excel, to push them to do the basic Islamic tradition of clothing. If you can't even do clothing, and you're not trying to work on your iman, and you're not trying to, lead by example and be a good role model, you have to check your intentions. You have to check your intentions and purify your heart. And we all make mistakes. But the difference is accidental mistakes and intentional mistakes. Sometimes I get mad, I swear. I don't mean to, but it happens because I have a hot temper. I didn't intend to know I was going to, but I did. That's much different than knowing you're supposed to cover your hair and willfully choosing not to, and then boasting about it proudly day after day after day when you've been advised. You know what I'm saying? So, this Ramadan, really look inside yourself and ask yourself, am I really doing all that I can do? And how you can get, it's the book in the bottom of the pile of books. I was gonna grab it. But I've been reading this book called Fiqh al-Haya. So it's a book about shyness and what that means, about modesty. And it's very, very beneficial when you actually read about it. And if you just type in books on Haya, you'll find a bunch from different publications in English. And they give great hadiths, great examples, and this can inspire you to want to be modest, to want to stop following TikTok liberal trends, stop copying the kuffar, and be proud to be a Muslim and to be modest and to be a good example for the young women who are being brainwashed by feminism. And if you like feminism and you think women don't have to cover and you hate that Islam mandates that, then you have to purify your heart and make sure that you're, not being led astray. So, hopefully, if you're a sister, you can hear my point of view and understand that I'm coming from experience. I'm coming from someone who's been on the other side and now is on this side. And I can tell you the difference. And sure, you can go ahead and listen to apostates who hate Islam and tell you that modesty is oppression. Or you can trust Americans who have rejected the hypersexualization culture, the pornographic culture, the stripper culture, prostitute culture, and you can hear our advice and learn that it's a slippery slope. And that may be a fallacy, but it does still happen. And if you look at the clothing trends from time to time, it's gotten from less and less and less clothing. So, be careful of the liberal arts majors, gender studies, woke women who would seek to erode your iman by brainwashing you into thinking that nudity is power, when covering your beauty is one of the most powerful things you can do and a very easy way to honor your partner. Try your best. It takes time, but you can do it. May Allah make it easy for you, and may some good niqabi sisters, hijabi sisters inspire you, and you can do it, inshallah.